I'm back. Hey, it's me, Tiffany the Budgetnista, your favorite financial educator, and this is Money Glow Up from Yahoo Finance, the show that helps you get past some of the misunderstandings that you tell yourself about money, okay? Here's the thing. As a financial educator, I feel like it's my duty, my job, if you will, to help undo some of the stories that we tell ourselves about money. Are they true? Is that the only truth that's available? I don't know. We're going to see. In today's show, we're going to talk about, can you truly dress for success? You might be thinking, really, Tiffany, clothes? It seems so superficial. No. Research shows that the way you dress helps to affect the way you feel about yourself. And not how you feel about yourself, but it actually helps you for you to perform better at work. Yes, your clothes might actually mean that you can make more, have more opportunities. Clothing is not just clothes. It really helps to translate into beyond that and more. And here's the thing. You might be thinking, that sounds great, but what about the affordability? What if I can't afford to look so cute at work? What about, me feeling guilty that maybe all I can afford is fast fashion? And I know that fast fashion is really terrible for the environment. And even fast fashion might mean that you are supporting practices that don't feel right morally for the people that they hire, right? So there's all these conflicting feelings when it comes to clothes. And I kind of wanted to dig through them with you today, right? And so I don't want to do it alone. So I brought someone into the studio with me today. Her name is Brandice Daniel, and she is the founder and CEO of Harlem's Fashion Row, HFR. Brandice started Harlem Fashion Row because she noticed that there's a discrepancy between designers of color and brands, and wanted to close that gap between the two of them so there could be more inclusivity in fashion. So I asked Brandice to join us today to talk about dressing for success and how you and I can do better. Hey, Brandice.
Hi, Tiffany.
First of all, you look fabulous.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Wearing a dress from our new collab with Nordstrom.
Oh, I love that. So speaking of looking fabulous, I really want to understand, for you, I know fashion is more than just fashion, right? And why do you think it's important that people consider what they wear, their wardrobe, when it comes to the workplace? Or is it important? Is it not?
It's absolutely important. I realized a little while ago that 70%, or I read somewhere that over 70% of what you say is nonverbal.
Okay.
So that means that you're speaking the moment you walk into a room.
Okay.
So you're saying something by the way your posture is, by your eye contact.
You sit up straight.
By what you're wearing, and how you feel in what you're wearing. All of that matters so much.
Wow. So what does signaling success, now that you're saying that 70% of what you're actually telling the world is not what you're actually saying. Mm-hmm. So what does signaling success, what does it look like? Can you define that for us?
Signaling success, the first thing is confidence.
Okay.
Right? Your confidence level is going to signal success, first and foremost. But how do you feel confident? Mm-hmm. You feel confident by what you're wearing, usually, right? Of course, it's inside. But if you're wearing something that doesn't fit, or you don't really know, or if it's not really your style, all of those things impact your confidence. So you want to make sure that when you walk into a room, you're feeling super confident because you're selling yourself the moment you kind of walk into the room.
So it's almost like your nonverbal resume.
Absolutely.
So are we only talking about suits and formal wear? Are there other ways to show up professionally if it doesn't look like what traditional professionally look like? I remember in the 80s, so I was born in right outside the 80s, but whatever. I'm an 80s baby. But I remember the shoulder pads were a thing.
Yeah, yep.
But is that what that looks like now? Does professionalism have to look like a suit?
It really depends on the job.
Okay.
Right? So you want to feel out the environment. So if you're going into a finance, some type of role that's in finance, you probably want to wear a blazer. You want to fill out the space and see what everyone else is walking in. Now, a little tip and trick that you could do is before the interview, maybe a day or two before, you can actually go to the office and see what the people are dressed like who are walking into the office.
Okay.
Right? That's a great way to kind of see what's the culture there. So it may be a more relaxed. So if you're working in, let's say, a fashion field like me, then you may not need a blazer, right? You might be able to get away. If you're working in an art field, you may be able to get away. As a matter of fact, a blazer may signal that you're not a good fit. So it really depends on the culture of the place where you're looking to get hired.
I feel especially as a woman of color, sometimes we're a little worried that are we bringing a little too much flavor to a place that's flavorless?
But you know what? You wear, if a hot pink jacket is your thing and that's what you feel most comfortable in, like, go for it, right? Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to walk into a place as someone that's not you.
Okay.
You don't want to pretend to be someone you're not, but you also want to make sure that people are judging you based on your resume and based on the conversation and not solely based on what you're wearing.
Okay, that makes sense. So in the end, would you really say that fashion can really affect one's career?
Absolutely.
Hey, how so?
As a matter of fact, there's someone I know who there's a guy that's worked with her for a long time, and she's been wanting to say to him, hey, you need to get like better suits if you want a promotion, you know, but how do you say that to someone, right? She's not in the role to promote him, but it's just something that she's noticed. And so, you know, what you wear says so much about you. It gives people a certain perception of who you are before you say anything. So you want to make sure that you're perceived as the role that you want, not even necessarily the role that you have right now. So kind of look around and see, what are the people in the roles ahead of you or above you, what are they wearing? And consider wearing those roles. I mean, believe it or not, what you wear also sometimes equate to like how much people pay you. Like it really does become a factor in people's perception of your value. Should it? No. But does it? And is that human nature? Absolutely.
So, I mean, I've made a few fashion faux pas myself, but it's not about me. What about you? Have you ever worn something where you're like, that's probably why I didn't get the thing, or maybe that's why I've not been promoted? I know you're so fashionable now, but have you made some fashion faux pas that cost you some money?
I absolutely have.
Okay.
I've made several fashion faux pas, especially in my 20s. You know, honestly, wearing just really bad suits. I used to wear really bad jackets, blazers. I couldn't really afford to go, or I didn't even think to go and get the suits tailored. So a lot of times I would thrift. So I would get blazers, and if they somehow in the range fit my size, you know, it would look 4 sizes up, 4 sizes down. I would wear that jacket, and I definitely think that cost me some opportunities as I was applying for jobs in fashion, because that matters a lot.
I could see that.
Yes.
Because like, what do you think that you were signaling to that person that may or may not hire you?
I think I was signaling that I didn't care. A little bit of slouchiness, probably. Not 100% professional, no attention to detail. You know, all of those things I was signaling, but I didn't know. Right? No one was there to tell me that, okay, fine, go get your jacket, go thrift, because I still love thrifting, but go get your jacket and thrift, but then go ahead and spend a little bit of money to get that jacket tailored for you, because that tailoring is going to make such a big difference in how you appear and your approach when you're going into interviews.
So all this information, it doesn't seem so readily available, because I think we all made these mistakes in my 30s and our 20s. So do you think that there's a version that's being gatekept, and why?
You know, I think it's hard for a hiring manager is never going to tell you that you're not getting the job because of, you know, anything other than your qualifications, right? That's not appropriate to do, and it's probably not legal either. So they're not going to make that information readily available for you. You know, they'll say something like, we're looking for someone who's a culture fit. Right? We hear that all the time. But what is a culture fit? Right? Because I had a young lady who interned for a company, and she wore blazer every day. She didn't get the job because they told her that she just wasn't a good culture fit. Because she was too dressed up all the time. And this was a very casual fashion brand. And I had to say to them, hey, this is a Black woman coming from the HBCU. She's been taught her whole life that this is how she has to show up. And so there has to be some room there for you to understand some of the cultural nuances that's coming with how she's showing up for work. So I do think it's one of those things it's like the unspoken that a lot of companies have that you can never really say, but it very much affects like how successful you are in certain roles.
I can remember, honestly, that when I first started my business, the Budgetnista, I had no money. I mean, no money. And I used to dress crazy. I'm already not a fashion girly. And I just like a non-fashion girly with no money. It's just not a good look. And I couldn't understand why people wouldn't let me in, you know, allow me to speak, allow me to present. And I remember a friend of mine took me to the side and flatly told me, they say you dress unprofessionally, Tiffany.
Wow.
I was so embarrassed. And I'm like, wait, what? I'll never forget. Shout out to you, Jeremiah. Thank you so much. No, but it's true.
Right.
Because he was like, I'm just letting you know what people are saying, that she seems great, she seems smart, but she doesn't dress professionally. And I just honestly had to borrow clothes.
But, the thing is, people don't tell you those things. So the fact that was a good friend.
It was a good friend.
That was a good friend to be able to pull you to the side and say, hey, with our company, one of the things I've done is I've said to some of the younger people, like, hey, when you come into a meeting, if I see something that's like not quite right, especially if we're going into a meeting with the brand, I'm like, next time consider this when you're thinking about showing up. Not in a way to shame them at all, but to say, like, I want to see you win, and this is how you win.
Oh my goodness, Brandice, just hold that thought for a second. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be right back. That means you're going to be right back. We'll see you in a minute. Oh my gosh, we're back. This conversation is so juicy. Okay, Brandice, well, let's talk about your company. So Harlem Fashion Row.
Yes.
Right? So why did you start it? Is this part of the reason why you started it, to give people access to be able to look their best?
So I had no idea I was starting a company when I started it. No idea. I think a lot of companies start that way though, right? You're like, you going down this path and then you realize, oh, wait a minute, I'm really passionate about this. Maybe I can actually make a company and make money from this too. I was actually passionate about the fact that I could not find designers of color in retailers. Like, that was a big problem for me. I couldn't understand why it wasn't a big problem for anyone, right? But that's when you know it's your thing because it bothers you so much. And that was something that bothered me. And when I looked at the fact that at the time, which was 2007, we spent over $22 billion a year in apparel.
We, as in people of color.
As in people of color, but we were representing less than 1% of designers that were in retailers. That for me, I really could not let it go.
Okay.
It was like one of those things that brought me to tears. For a long time, I couldn't even talk about it without crying because I just couldn't understand the inequity that existed in fashion. And so I decided, you know what? I'm going to do something about it. The something I'm going to do is I'm going to present amazing designers and invite editors and buyers and retailers to come see their collections, and then hopefully something great will happen from it. And that, through years and years and years and trying different things, that morphed into what has become a full-fledged company, Harlem's Fashion Row, where we connect designers of color with retailers for really great business opportunities.
All right, so Brandice, so we all know that Harlem Fashion Row is this big deal. You just had the show with Naomi Campbell was there, Anna Wintour, but it wasn't always like that.
No.
You get a lot more yeses now. I know you've got a lot of no's.
A lot of no's.
Can you take us through a little bit of the journey of entrepreneurship to get to where you are now?
It really is understanding your why you're doing something, and letting that be the thing that drives you. Because in the beginning of Harlem's Fashion Row, we couldn't get editors to come to our events. It was very difficult to kind of get the industry's interest. There was really difficult to get on calls with retailers. Really, none of it was easy. It was finding a group of people, I call them my village, finding a group of people that would support the work that we were doing. So finding the few people who was interested in what we were doing and having them rally around us, right? And so a lot of that in the very beginning was me doing small lunches, breakfasts, really building relationships. I always say, like, build your tribe. Like, if you want to grow, you cannot grow alone. You have to have a tribe. And so me doing those small lunches and dinners and sending people cards and sending them books and sending them cupcakes and lunch sometimes too was all a way of me building the tribe. And that really helped us to start to attract other attention. And then the other piece of it is consistency.
Okay.
So you don't realize that people are watching your journey. You think you're just on that entrepreneurial journey alone and like nobody's paying attention. But then one day you wake up and like somebody's paying attention. When we got our collaboration with Nike and LeBron James, the agency, there was somebody from an agency who we had met with a year prior, and she said, "No, I'm so sorry. I don't have anything for you. There's no partnership opportunities." And maybe a year or two after, she reached out and said, "I've been watching you guys. I've seen what you were doing." Nike reached out to us to see who they should partner with for this new LeBron sneaker. And I told them if they were going to do anything with designers of color, it had to be Harlem's Fashion Row.
Wow.
And so who knew that she was actually watching that journey? I had no idea. And so you just don't know. Like even the CFDA and Vogue, during the pandemic, they gave us $1 million for our nonprofit to give like 27 grants to designers of color, to Black designers. And again, right, that's a relationship that I have been cultivating over time. You know, I did a cold outreach. That's another thing for entrepreneurs. You can't be afraid to send the cold outreach, to send the cold email. Sometimes I send cold cupcakes because it's like you have to build relationships. You cannot do this alone. So I say find your tribe, be consistent, and don't be afraid to really put yourself out there and do things that might get you a no or it might get you a yes. But do the thing. Like, don't be afraid. Take the cliff jump because you really can't achieve success in entrepreneurship without those.
I love that. And then when you finally do get in front of people, make sure you look cute.
Yes. When you get in front of people, make sure you're looking good. And that you're ready. The interesting thing is sometimes we want things so fast as entrepreneurs, and we don't realize that even through all the trials and the struggles, we're really being positioned and we're being groomed to be able to actually take advantage of that next opportunity.
Well, now that you started this company that kind of makes this connection, if someone is watching this and says, okay, I want to be wonderfully dressed. Like, how can someone, I'm the Budgetnista at the end of the day.
Yes.
How can someone dress for success while also maintaining a budget? And you kind of alluded to it a little bit before with thrifting.
Yeah, you can do that with thrifting. That's always a great way to do it and get things tailored. Also look for really great collaborations because I will say it is sometimes really expensive to purchase from designers of color. They're producing domestically.
Okay.
They don't have a big team. They don't have economies of scale. So their price points can be, they can be up there. But when you see a brand come out with a collaboration, those price points are usually like inexpensive. So, I mean, not always inexpensive, but they're more affordable.
Okay.
So we have a collaboration right now with Nordstrom, and there's really nothing over $300.
Okay.
We also have a collaboration with HSN, and I don't think there's anything over $200.
Okay.
And with the HSN collab, you can also, there's like a payment plan that you can do. You can pay like $20 a month for some of these things. So that's a way that you can support designers of color and do it on a budget.
I love that. And it's a way for us to stay away from fast fashion.
Yes.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, I know everybody understands that. I know fast fashion can be very, very affordable, but unfortunately, there's a grave cost.
There's a huge cost. It's not sustainable at all. None of the fabrics they're using is sustainable. Like our Nordstrom collab, every piece was approached with sustainability in mind. A lot of times they're just overproducing a whole bunch of things and making it very cheaply, which sometimes mean that labor practices aren't ethical. And I have a thing. It's so funny because my friends, when they order from fast fashion, they don't want me to see it. They try to hide it from me. Or if I say, where you get that from? They're like, oh. But I say, if you want inexpensive fashion, I prefer for you to go thrifting and get it tailored than to shop fast fashion.
Yeah. Honestly, Brandice, it's been so awesome having you on. So the teacher in me is always like, I'm loving like a great recap, right? So what I'm hearing from you is that truly you can dress for success.
Yes.
That the clothes that you wear will and can affect kind of how much money you make, the opportunities that are offered to you, the way you feel about yourself.
Absolutely.
The way you kind of step into the room and how people feel about you. It signals something.
Absolutely.
And so even if you don't have as much money as maybe as you'd love to have, you can still dress for success in a way that is financially sustainable.
Yes.
And so some of those options are thrifting,
Absolutely.
a good tailor.
Yes.
And tailors don't have to be super expensive.
They don't. They don't. You can, under $20, you can get some things altered.
And ideally, if you really want to support designers that maybe you can't normally afford, follow them on social media, see if they have a collaboration.
Yes.
And especially like how HFR is doing with Nordstrom right now, HSN, and then kind of leaning into those collaborations.
Absolutely.
So you can have access that you might not normally have.
Yes.
But always remember that how you feel about yourself is the most important thing.
Absolutely.
And just lean into that.
That confidence is everything.
I love that. Brandice, thank you again so much for coming here today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It's been such a delight.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And thank you for joining us as well. But don't worry, if you need the next level, just financial help, financial education, you can go on ahead to getgoodwithmoney.com. I have so many tools and resources there for you, okay? This has been Money Glow Up from Yahoo Finance and me. You can catch me here every single Thursday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wherever you stream your podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, and yahoofinance.com. I am Tiffany, the Budgetnista Aliche, your favorite financial educator, and I'm just here with you, okay? And do not forget, you can dress for success.
This content was not intended to be financial advice and should not be used as a substitute for professional financial services.